Welcome to the PharmaVOICE Editor's Take video series. Recorded live at the DIA 2014 annual meeting in San Diego. Hosted by Taryn Grome, editor of PharmaVOICE. In this episode, Taryn meets with Barry Peterson, PhD, Senior Manager, Clinical Affairs, Philips Respironics.
Barry, welcome to the 50th anniversary of the DIA.
Thank you.
Barry, talk to us about what's so important about activity and sleep in terms of somebody's lifestyle.
Okay. Activity and sleep are important parts of health. Therefore, they can influence or be influenced by a lot of pathological conditions such as pain, depression, Alzheimer's disease, neuromuscular diseases, and so forth. So as a result, activity and sleep can be very important factors in many clinical trials.
When we go to assess activity and sleep, can I use any consumer device?
I don't recommend it. It's really important to have the right device for the problem you're trying to solve. The accuracy of consumer devices has been called into question in some recent news articles and also scientific publications. But the main thing is that consumer devices have not really shown to be suitable for clinical trials. In contrast, devices made by Philips or other pharmaceutical companies, such as this device, have been shown to be suitable in many clinical trials.
Barry, why do you say we may be missing something?
Well, many clinical trials do not include measurements of activity and sleep, and in some cases they're simply not called for. But we showed here at the DIA last year that the sleep quality of patients entering a pain study can have an influence on the endpoints. Now, if we hadn't measured sleep in that study, we would not have known the effect of the sleep on the endpoint. It would have made a big difference in how we interpret the data. In addition, when you use actigraphy for measuring sleep and activity, the data is typically analyzed with conventional algorithms to produce conventional endpoints, which we've shown are very, very helpful for understanding the data. But in a study we presented at the sleep meetings about 2 weeks ago, we showed that when you apply some novel algorithms to the interpretation of the motion data, you can generate novel endpoints, which in that case provided some brand new insights into the effects of therapy on children with autism spectrum disorder.
What needs to be done to make sure that clinical trials aren't missing this integral piece of sleep and activity as part of the protocol?
Well, the first thing is, when designing a clinical trial, it's important to consider the possibility that sleep or activity may have an influence on the endpoint you're trying to study. There's a lot of scientific data you can research to find out about that, and if indeed the data supports it that your endpoint could be influenced by sleep and activity, then it would be prudent to include a measurement of sleep and activity in at least one phase 2 trial so that you don't get surprises in phase 3. The other thing that we can do is do more research into the way the actigraphy data is analyzed so that we get the maximum amount of information from the data that's being collected. So by the combination of including these measurements in clinical trials and getting more information out of the data, we can maximize the value of actigraphy and we can minimize the likelihood that we may be missing something.
Is there an optimal level of activity and sleep that we should be aware of?
Well, obviously during the day you want to have high levels of activity, and during the night you would like to have low levels of activity during sleep. But everybody's different, and the relationship between the two changes in pathological conditions. So for example, COPD patients and Alzheimer's patients in particular, the levels of activity in day and night are quite similar, which is a challenge for interpreting the data, as opposed to a healthy person when they're really quite different.
Thank you so much for bringing these very important insights to our audience.
Okay.
Additional Editor's Take videos, as well as podcasts, white papers, webinars, and more are available at www.pharmavoice.com.